नहीं बात कर रहा है तो ठीक बात है, वो ऐसी बात।
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Today, let's look at the controllers part in module 3A. All right, so controllers is the topic. Okay, now every now and then we listen about controlling action, right? The controlling needs to be done, controller needs to be used, etc., etc. Now, what do you mean by a controller in control systems? So controller is nothing but it's a device basically, which basically takes error signal as the input and gives out control signal as the output. So basically it manipulates the error signal. Now, the process of manipulation of error signal is called as the control action. So the manner in which control signal is produced is called as the control action. Okay. So why do we need these controllers? Now, the controllers are basically used to modify something known as the system response. When you say system response, it is consisting of the two types, right? The transient response and the steady state response. So normally, we go for these controllers to tweak the transient response, because transient response is very critical when it comes to the stability of the system. So regarding stability, probably in the next or the other class we are going to study. Okay. Now, why we need to go for controller? Let's say, for example, we have a system, let's say a drive system. For example, a DC motor is connected to an industrial load. And for some reason, let's say the DC motor is less responsive, in the sense, when you turn on the DC motor and when you set the rheostat to a particular value, let's say the DC motor takes a longer time to reach to that desired speed. It is not like you discard the DC motor and you buy a new motor which can give better response. No, because those equipment are very expensive. They cost in the range of tens of thousands of rupees. So whenever your plant, for example, plant is nothing but your DC motor here. So whenever your plant is not able to give the desired response, so instead of constructing a new plant, or instead of buying a new plant, what we can do is we can connect an inexpensive device called controller or compensators in cascade with the existing plant. So these compensators or controllers basically try to tweak the performance of the plant in such a way that the desired response is achieved. Okay, so that is the role of a controller in real time. All right, so that's the reason your industrial drive systems normally will have an industrial motor connected to a plant or a controller. Okay, so that is the application of controller. All right, now example for controller could be something like op-amp based controllers, or even transistor based controllers. You can go for it. Okay, so let us look at the different types of controllers which are available. Okay, so controller basically takes the corrective action on the plant so that the transient performance of the plant can be improved. Okay. All right. So here we have different types of controllers. Okay. The very first controller is the on-off type controller. Okay. So on-off type controller can be easily achieved using switching action. Probably, you can use a transistor switching action to get on-off type of controlling action. All right. And then we have proportional controller. You also have integrator controller, derivative controller, and the combination of proportionality and integration, proportional and derivative, and PID. So these are the major controllers which are used in a real world. Okay. Now, from second controller onwards, basically you can see the mathematical terms coming into picture, right? Proportionality, integration, derivation. So basically, this is what I was referring to. It manipulates the error signal. How are you going to manipulate the error signal? Either by increasing the error signal using a proportional controller, or you can think of integrating the error signal using an integrator, or you can even, in fact, you will be able to achieve the rate of rise of error signal, which is nothing but the differentiation. Okay, so these are the types of controllers which are available. Okay, so let us look at these controllers one by one. So the first one is on-off controller. Okay, the detailed information I have given in this slide, but I will be touching upon only the qualitative aspects of it. So example for on-off control is a relay control. Okay, so when you say relay, these relay controllers are normally available in two types, NO type and NC type. NO stands for normally open type relays, and NC stands for normally closed type of relays. Okay, so whenever the controlling action takes place, if at all you consider NO type of relay, what happens is that from normally open state to normally closed state, the controller goes to. Similarly, if you consider NC type of relay, whenever there is controlling action, the relay state changes from normally closed to normally open. Okay, so the block diagram basically gives the location of the controller, right? So controller finds or it is found between the actuating signal U of S and the error signal E of S. Okay, so this actuating signal later it is given to the plant. So you can imagine that if in the absence of controller, you would have fed the error signal directly to the plant, right? Since you need some kind of corrective measure in the plant, you are trying to use a controller in between the error signal and the actuating signal. So basically you are manipulating the error signal. By doing so, you will be able to derive a new signal which is called as the actuating signal, or sometimes you can also call it as controlling signal. Okay, so this is the location of controller in your block diagram. All right, and on the left hand side you can see the switching state. So your U of t, which is nothing but the control signal expressed in time domain, will have two selection values, U1 and U2. For, let's say, error signal less than 0, U1 gets selected. For any error signal greater than 0, U2 gets selected. So you can also take it in vice versa condition. That doesn't matter. What we are trying to understand is that, for on-off controller, there are two states, either off state or on state. Okay, so basically you get a stepped kind of the changeover mechanism. So from 0 to 1 it jumps to, or it can jump from 1 to 0. Okay, so that is about on-off controller. we are not going to study about any mathematics of on-off controller because you can represent using a step function. Okay. All right. The second type of controller is very, very important, and in most of the systems we use this second type of controller. Basically, these small robots, for example, line follower robot, etc., etc. We go for these proportional controllers. We try to increase the forward path gain. Okay, by increasing the forward path gain, I don't know, people who have done these small robotic projects, they will be able to appreciate. You will be able to improve the system response. Okay, fine. So that's about the proportional controllers. Okay. Now, proportional controller is a controller which basically gives a control signal which is proportional to the error signal. So you can say that U of t in time domain, I'm talking about, U of t is proportional to E of t. And if you introduce the constant of proportionality, you will get U of s is equal to, or U of t is equal to kp into E of t. Okay, that's in time domain. In Laplace domain, you can say U of s, you can see U of s here, which is the output signal of this block. So output signal U of s is equal to error signal E of s into gain kp. Okay, or the signal ratio, that is output signal to the input signal. Okay, it should have been other way around. This should have been output signal U of s divided by input signal U of s. Okay, so the ratio output by input gives the gain kp, and kp is called as gain of the proportional controller, or simply said as proportional gain. Okay, now this kp or k is nothing new to us, right? We have already seen the role of k in steady state error, right? So steady state error basically depends on the value of k. Okay, just to recall the steady state error, here I have written an equation. Now if you consider the step response, okay, that means to say, if you assume that your reference input is unit step function, the steady state error may be given as ESS is equal to A divided by 1 plus Kp. On the other hand, for ramp, okay, your steady state error may be given as the amplitude divided by Kv. Okay, Kv, Kp, Ka doesn't matter. So they all refer to the gain kp. Okay, now your steady state error is greatly affected by the proportionality constant, right? So if you increase, say for example, kp value, what you can achieve, you can reduce the steady state error. So it looks pretty straightforward, right? Just by increasing kp, you will be able to reduce the steady state error. Yeah, that is one of the way to reduce the steady state error. But on the contrary, by increasing kp, what happens is that the transient response goes for a toss. Other day in one problem we noticed that for a high value of k, the overshoot was increasing, right? So this is the adverse effect of kp. So you cannot set the value of kp to any random value, right? Because a very high kp value may give you zero steady state error, but it can destroy your transient response. That means to say the overshoot may shoot up to a very high value, which may destroy your system itself. So there is a trade-off between steady state error and overshoot. So that is what I have written over here. So that is highlighted with the red color. Okay, so as kp starts increasing, steady state error starts decreasing. But on the other side, the overshoot starts increasing, and you can say that the transient response is getting affected with the increment in Kp. Okay, so that is the effect of Kp on the transient response. Okay, so this is a typical graph of Kp variation. Okay, as you can see here, the purple color, okay, this one is for K equal to 1.6, and the green one, which is the middle one, is for K is equal to 1.1, and the red one is for 0.5, that is the K value. Okay, and this is the step response expected. Okay, the cyan color basically gives the expected value. All right, so you can clearly observe that higher the value of K, higher is the overshoot. See the purple waveform, there's a large overshoot. Okay, on the other hand, you get a moderate overshoot when you select K is equal to 1.1, right? Look at the green one. And when you select a very small value of K, you get zero overshoot. That means to say your system becomes overdamped in nature for K is equal to 0.5. Okay, of course we are not concentrating on the steady state error part. Okay, because over here our attention is towards the transient response. So that's the reason at 10 seconds the system is the steady state response is stopped at 10 seconds. We are not interested in what is going to happen as time t tends to infinity. Okay, so that is the second aspect. We are not interested in knowing the steady state value. We are kind of interested in knowing the transient response. Okay, now though it is increasing the overshoot with the increment in K value, you can also notice one very important aspect. With higher K value, the rise time basically decreases. For example, when you set K is equal to 1.6, your rise time is somewhere over here, right? It's about 1.5 seconds. On the other hand, when you increase the value of K to 1.1, your rise time, is very close to 2 seconds. On the other hand, for a very low K value, okay, your system becomes overdamped in nature, and for overdamped response, you have seen that the rise time is calculated for 0 to 90% of the final value. So if you roughly locate the 90% value, you would get somewhere about 5.5 seconds. Okay, so K value, it reduces the steady state error, and also it makes your system very responsive. That means to say it takes lesser time to achieve the expected value, but at what cost? At the cost of very high overshoot. Okay, so that is the drawback of high Kp value. Okay, so that is the reason computer based simulation is carried out before actually manufacturing any product, because computer based simulation gives a very clear understanding of variation of Kp or Ki or Kd on system response. Okay, so you can select optimum value of K to meet the requirement. So that's possible only through computer based simulation. If you go for handheld based calculation, it takes ages to get the optimum value of K. Okay, fine. Now, is it possible to realize a proportional controller with a practical circuit? Yes, it is possible. Using an op-amp, probably you can think of producing a proportional controller. Okay, in the sense, the first figure basically shows the op-amp in non-inverting mode. Okay, so what is happening is the gain of the op-amp. Okay, in non-inverting mode, gain is 1 plus I think feedback resistor to the input resistor, right? 1 plus RF divided by R1. Okay, so RF is R2 and R1 is, okay, of course it is R1 itself. So for a non-inverting amplifier, the proportional gain Kp can be written as 1 plus Rf divided by R1, right? So that's your Kp for non-inverting amplifier. On the other hand, if you go for an inverting amplifier, you will get your proportional gain as negative. That's because there is signal inversion. Okay, so in first stage, if you see, due to inverting amplifier configuration, there will be a signal inversion. So gain of first stage becomes R2 divided by R1, right? R1. But you don't want the signal inversion. So what you can do, you can use a sign changer circuit. So basically it's a buffer circuit, or you can say two-stage inverting amplifier. When you give an inverting signal to an inverting amplifier, you will get a corrected signal. So this is your first stage output. Second stage output. Okay. Can anyone tell me second stage output? It is, in the second stage, you would get Kp is equal to negative of the first gain, that is positive gain. Okay, and the resistors are having equal values. So basically, you get unity gain here. So it's a buffer amplifier performing the sign correction. Hence, your overall gain becomes R2 divided by R1. Okay, so that's nothing but proportional gain. Okay, so using an op-amp circuit, it is possible to realize a proportional controller. Okay, so to get different gain, you can play around with the resistor values to get the suitable gain. Okay, so that's about P controller. Okay. Next we have the integral controller. As the name suggests, there is some integration taking place. So you can look at the block diagram. What is happening is your error signal is basically fed to an integrator. Okay, so in Laplace domain, the integrator is represented as 1 by S, and we have taken some integrator constant as Ki. So Ki refers to integration constant or integral gain simply. Okay, so your controller signal in time domain u of t is proportional to the integration of the error signal, or Ki, which is the constant of proportionality for an integrator controller. So u of t can be given as Ki into integration of error signal with respect to time. Or in Laplace domain, you can simply write u of t as u of s, and the integration process you can replace with 1 by s, because that's the Laplace transform of an integrator. Okay. Now, integral controller, what effect it is going to have on the transient response? Okay. Now, as you can clearly observe, that due to the presence of an integrator, 1 by s term is coming into the picture. So this 1 by s term is going to get multiplied with the plant transfer function. So imagine that if you have a plant transfer function of second order in nature. Let us imagine that the plant transfer function is second order in nature. So overall forward path transfer function with an integral controller becomes Ki divided by S into the plant transfer function. So the overall forward path transfer function becomes a third order, right? That's because S square is going to get multiplied with S. So you get a third order function. So you can say that an integrator controller will increase the order of the system by 1. Okay. So if you assume a second order system, and when you find out C of S by R of S, that is the overall transfer function, your system will have a third order, right? Your system's characteristic equation will have a third order. So the complexity also increases as the system order increases. All right. So a system which was stable in its second order type, I mean, in second order nature, need not be stable when it changes to a third order. Okay. So that is the implication of higher order system on system stability. Higher order systems are highly vulnerable for instability. Okay. So you have to be very careful when you deal with an integrator controller, in the sense the controller gain KI needs to be taken or needs to be chosen very wisely, or else the stable system you may end up in pushing into instability condition. All right, and due to which you may get very oscillatory response. Okay, so that is the reason in real time you will not use a standalone integrator controller. You will use an integrator controller in combination with a proportional controller, which is called as PI controller. We will be looking at PI controller in short time. Okay. Fine. Now, is it possible to realize an integrator controller? Yeah, you can realize an integrator controller using op-amp. Okay. So in the first stage, what you have is an integrator, right? So in the feedback path, if you replace the resistor with a capacitor, it is going to perform the integrating action. So basically, you will get an integrator operation in the first stage, and you know that it is operating in inverting mode, so the signal will have the phase inversion. So to correct the phase inversion, you are using a buffer circuit operating in inverting amplifier mode. So your ultimate output, which is nothing but controller output U of t, is basically the integration of the error signal. So you can say that U of t is equal to integration constant Ki into integration of E of t with respect to dt. Okay, so that's your practical circuit for an integrator. Yeah, it should have been the fourth type. Sorry about it. It's a fourth type. Okay. So fourth type of controller, that's what I was talking about. A proportional integrator controller. So basically it is proportional plus integrator controller. Okay. So I was mentioning, right, in the previous discussion that a standalone integrator controller may not be suitable for practical applications, because it may push your system on the verge of instability. Okay, so that is the reason in your real world we use a PI controller. Okay, so this is the block diagram of PI controller. Okay, it is used in combination with the proportional controller. Okay, so what happens is that initially error signal is given to the proportional controller, and the output of proportional controller is actually given to summer. Okay, so this summing point basically adds the two signals, the integrator signal with the proportional signal, and the controller signal is later given to the plant transfer function. Okay, so this is how the block diagram of PI controller is constructed. The simplified block diagram may be given something like this. So basically the overall transfer function of the controller, you will get it as U by E is equal to Kp into 1 plus 1 divided by Ti into S. Okay, so you can see clearly that the controller signal U of t is composed of two signals, the proportional signal and the integrator signal. Okay, so when you introduce the constant of proportionality, you can take Kp into E of S as your first part of the controller signal, and the second part of the controller signal is by Ti into E of S by S, because there is an integrator, right? So due to the presence of integrator, you have 1 by S term appearing in your transfer function. So overall transfer function, that's what I was talking about. Probably you can write Kp into 1 plus 1 divided by Ti into S. Okay, where Kp is the proportionality constant and Ti is called as the integral time. Okay, so in control system, Ti is also called as the reset rate. Okay, so example for PI controller can be realized using an op-amp circuit. So it is modified integrator circuit, you can say, right? Your standalone integrator circuit had only C2 in the feedback path. Since you want to achieve PI controlling action, what you have done is you have connected a resistor R2 in series with C2. So your output U of T becomes Kp times error signal, where Kp is nothing but, okay, here I can write, new I will write here in this slide. So for example, yeah, PI controller, right? Here I can write the proportional constant Kp can be given as R2 divided by R1, okay, and the integral time constant, I can write it as Ki is equal to, not the time constant, integral constant Ki can be given as R2 into C2. Sorry, the time constant. Because I'm taking the product, right? Resistance and capacitance. So I can take it as Ti. So integral time constant can be given as R2 into C2. Okay. So these are the two constants of PI controller. Okay. Fine. Again, the sign changer is used to achieve phase inversion. Okay. So that's about the proportional controller. Okay. So next you have proportional plus derivative controller. Okay. Derivative controller, sorry, standalone derivative controller is not discussed. That's because just like your integral controller, derivative controller, a simple single derivative controller is of no practical use. So that's the reason in combination it is used. So popular combination is go ahead with a proportional controller. Okay. So combination of proportional plus derivative controller gives a PD controller. Okay. So PD controller will have two controlling terms. One is the proportional controlling term and the second one is the derivative controlling term. So proportional controlling term is proportional to error signal and the derivative controlling term is proportional to differentiation of the error signal. Okay. So in Laplace domain, you can write U of S is equal to Kp into E of S plus Kp into Td into S into E of S, because differentiation of the differentiation of Laplace transformation of differential function is S. Okay, so S into E of S comes into picture, and this is the block diagram of PD controller. Okay. Proportional controller in cascade with derivative controller. The overall transfer function of the controller becomes Kp times 1 plus Td into S. Okay, so this is Td. Td is called as differential time constant. All right. So what effect it has on the time response? So using differential controller, what you can achieve is the increment in damping ratio. So with the differential controller, the zeta, which is nothing but the damping ratio of the system, gets increased. With the increase in zeta value, one can reduce the overshoot. So as zeta starts increasing, overshoot starts reducing. and you can say that your system becomes more and more stable. But there is a trade-off. By reducing the overshoot, the system starts to become sluggish. Okay, so that is one of the drawback. The system becomes slower, in the sense the rise time of the system starts increasing. Okay, increasing is a bad sign, right? It takes a longer time to achieve the expected value, you can say. Okay, but it can reduce the steady state, not steady state error. It can reduce the overshoot. Okay, so if we wisely choose differential gain, then we can achieve optimum performance from a given system. Okay, so a proper value of TD can give a good response. Okay, so that's the effect of PD controller on system response. However, it will not correct any steady state error. Okay, it simply improves the transient response by reducing the overshoot. Okay. On the other hand, the PI controller effect I did not discuss, right? So when we use PI controller, again, you have an integrating function there. So the order of the system increases by a factor of 1. That means to say, second order system will become third order in nature. With the help of PI controller, rise time can be increased. Sorry, rise time can be improved, in the sense we will be able to reduce the rise time. So system becomes faster. But in the meantime, the overshoot can also increase. So proportional plus integrator controller, or PI controller, needs to be selected appropriately, or else it can push the system into instability. Okay, though it improves the rise time, it can cause severe instability in the control system. So that is the effect of PI controller on system performance. Okay. See, it is nothing to do with the equation-based analysis, because it is kind of qualitative analysis. Okay, so that's the reason you may find that every now and then I'm just giving the statements, because when you go into depth or when you go into equation, it is going to kill the time. Since it is not included in the syllabus, the detailed analysis, I'm not discussing. Okay, but you can refer any standard textbooks to get to know more about these controllers. All right, fine. Now, the practical example for PD controller can be constructed using op-amp based circuitry. So if you connect a capacitor in series with the inverting terminal, you basically get the differentiation action, right? So when you connect resistor R1 across the capacitor C1, you can also get the proportional action. So in case of PD controller, the proportional gain is given by the resistance ratio R2 by R1. On the other hand, the differential time constant TD is given by R2 into C1. Okay. So that's how we obtain the values of KP and TD. Okay. So that's about your PD controller. Okay. Next we have PID controller. Okay. So PID controller is the combination of proportional controller, integrator controller, and derivative controller. Okay. I have not given the block diagram. Okay. Probably in the next class, let me provide the block diagram. I forgot to incorporate the block diagram over here. Nevertheless, you can say that in your PID controller, the summing block is consisting of 3 signals. So summing block basically adds three signals: proportional signal, and the integral signal, which is proportional to the error signal, which is proportional to integration of error signal, and the third signal is proportional to differentiation of the error signal. Okay, so u of t, you can say, you can see here, it is composed of three terms: proportional term, which is kp into e of t; integral term, which is kp by ti into e of t, integration of e of t; and then you have kp into td, differentiation of e of t. Okay, so when you take out the Laplace transform and when you find the ratio of output signal to input signal, output signal being the control signal and input signal being the error signal, you would get the transfer function as kp times 1 plus tds plus 1 by tis. So you have a differentiation term and you have an integral term present in your output. Okay, fine. So block diagram of PD controller is given here. Okay, yeah, that's what I was saying, right? Yeah, I have included. Fine. So proportional signal, okay, which is given to the summing block, and then you have the integral signal again given to the summing block, and then you have the differential signal. So the central path is your integral path, the bottom path is your differential path, and the top path is basically the proportional path, because this path directly feeds your proportional signal to the summing block, right? So this is the overall transfer function. Okay. Now, example for PID controller again can be constructed using op-amp. Op-amp is preferred in electronic controller because it has several advantages, right? Very high gain, high power supply rejection ratio, etc., etc. So it is very robust circuit when it comes to the feature part. Okay, fine. So this is your practical PID controller. So differentiation time TD is given by R1 into C. So product of R1 C1, sorry, this is R1 C1, gives differential time TD. On the other hand, the integral time Ti is given by the product of R2 into C2. So R2 into C2 gives Ti value, which is nothing but the integral time constant. And the proportional gain Kp is given by the ratio of feedback resistance to the input resistance, R2 by R1. Okay. So these are the values for the three constants, TD, Ti, and Kp. All right. So that's about your PID control. Okay. Now, what effect the PID controller has on the system's transient response? Now, your PID controller takes all the advantages of proportional controller, PD controller, and PI controller. So all the advantages of the three controllers are present in PID controller. So that means to say it has the feature of P controller, which will reduce the steady state error, and it also has the feature of PD controller, which is known to for its controlling the overshoot value, right? And it also has the advantages of PI controller. So PI controller is ideal when you require very small rise time. So your PID controller, it reduces the rise time, and it also reduces the overshoot, and it also reduces the steady state error. So basically the PID controller, improves transient response, and to some extent, it also improves the steady state response. So that's the reason in industry, especially in manufacturing plant, such as automation plant, and also in chemical plant, PID controllers are widely used because one can tweak the system's transient response as well as you can tweak the system's steady state response. So the most widely used controllers are PID controllers in nature. Okay, fine. Now let's look at what happens to system response when we use P, PI, PD, and PID controllers. So mathematical touch is given here. Okay, so proportional controller, I'm not going to write any equations because it is pretty straightforward to understand. As in the steady state error, ESS can be given as A divided by 1 plus Kp for a step response, right? So by increasing Kp, one can reduce the steady state error. So that is one of the greatest advantage of the proportional controller. Okay, so that is what is written here. Okay, and this graph we have already seen how the K value is going to affect the overshoot as well as the rise time of the system. Okay, fine. Let's look at the PI controller. Okay, so let us assume that the given system is under unity feedback and it is negative feedback in nature. Okay, the controller transfer function is given by GC of S, and the plant transfer function is given by G of S. And the controller transfer function, in our previous slide, we have seen that GC of S for a PI controller is Kp times 1 plus 1 by Ti of S. So what you can do is you can take out the LCM within the bracket and you will get Kp into numerator divided by denominator as the simplified transfer function. Okay, fine. So what you have to do is, in place of GC, you are supposed to take this transfer function and you are supposed to multiply this GC with G of S in order to get the overall transfer function. So the overall forward path transfer function, is nothing but GC into G. Okay, so you need to multiply. Okay, now let us consider the open loop transfer function G of S as the standard transfer function, that is omega n squared divided by S into S plus 2 zeta omega n. Okay, so open loop transfer function, which is G of S into H of S, but we are assuming H of S as one unity feedback control system. So you have only G of S, which is given by equation 2.147. Okay. Now, the new open loop transfer function, yeah, that is what I was talking about. You need to find the new open loop transfer function, right, which is GC into G. That is controller transfer function into the forward path transfer function, which gives GC into G, right? So you need to just multiply. So in the first stage, you have the controller transfer function getting multiplied with the second stage transfer function, which is your open loop transfer function. So when you multiply and when you simplify, you will get the following transfer function. Okay, and if you try to find out the overall transfer function, which is C of S by R of S, pretty easy to determine, which is GC into G divided by 1 plus GC into G. So you substitute and you simplify. Okay, I leave it to you. Okay, you can do it. Okay, but you need to practice this. Okay, so you would get the overall transfer function of this kind. Okay, now let me just zoom it up. Okay, it gives basically very interesting result in the sense, if you look at the overall transfer function, you can see that a proportional controller introduces a 0, right? It introduces a 0. Okay. Why am I saying 0? Because you can find a factor of yes in the numerator. So it introduces 0 as well as it introduces a pole. On what basis did I say that a pole is introduced? Your original transfer function had a second order characteristic equation. On the other hand, if you look at your new transfer function, the characteristic equation is no longer a second order function. The characteristic equation is a third order function. This is what I was referring in the previous slide, that a PI controller will increase the order of the system by a factor of 1. So a second order system becomes third order system, due to which the system may undergo oscillations, okay, which is bad from stability point of view. Okay, so this is about your PI controller. Okay, so summary of PI controller is that your PI controller will introduce 0, and also it will increase the system order by a factor of 1. That's because a pole is getting introduced with the help of PI controller. So due to which it may reduce the steady state error, as well as it will improve the transient response by reducing the rise time, but it can create high oscillations. And in order to contain these oscillations, a value of Ti should be properly chosen. Okay, so this is the effect of PI controller on system response. Reduces rise time and slightly reduces steady state error as well, but it will increase the system complexity, in the sense it can convert a second order system into a third order system. Okay, so that's the effect of PI controller. Okay, so next up we have PD controller. Okay, so the approach is defined in PI controller itself. Firstly, you need to find the overall forward path transfer function. So how will you find the overall forward path transfer function? Multiply controller transfer function with the plant transfer function. So that is overall transfer function G dash of S is equal to GC of S into G of S. Okay. And if you assume, let's say, a standard open loop transfer function operating in unity feedback mode as G of S is equal to omega n square divided by S into S plus 2 zeta omega n. And when you take the new loop transfer function as GC into G, okay, you will get the new transfer function of this kind. Again, you can see that a 0 is getting introduced in your open loop transfer function. Just like PI controller, PD controller will introduce 0 in the numerator, obviously. But if you look at the denominator is unaffected, right? If you see the closed loop response by applying this formula, G divided by 1 plus G, you will get the closed loop response or the closed loop transfer function as omega n square into Kp plus Kd into S. Of course, there is a 0 in the numerator. But if you look at the denominator, you see the characteristic equation is still second order in nature. So PD controller will not affect the system order. The system order remains unchanged. That means to say a second order system remained as second order system. But you can clearly observe that the coefficient of S has changed. For a second order system, the standard form of characteristic equation is S square plus 2 zeta omega ns plus omega n square. But for a PD controller, the characteristic equation has changed to S square plus 2 zeta omega n plus the new term has appeared. So that means to say, in case of PD controller, the damping ratio is getting increased, right? Increasing by what factor? By kd into omega n times. Okay. So since your proportional plus derivative controller is increasing the damping ratio, you can expect lesser overshoot in your system output. So your PD controller basically improves the transient response by reducing the overshoot. All right. However, it will not, you know, affect the steady state error by larger margin. Okay, so it improves only the overshoot. Okay, so that's the effect of PD controller. Okay. So finally, we have PID controller. Of course, the mathematical analysis is not carried out for a PID controller because it will give you a third order system. You can find out, you can find at least C of S by R of S. Okay. So in the comment section, I'll write find C of S divided by R of S. Okay. So obviously you will get a third order function. So third order function in the sense you can say that PID controller is going to introduce a pole as well as it is going to introduce a zero. Okay. Yeah. So PID controllers will have the advantages of proportional controller, proportional integral controller, and proportional derivative controller. So PID controllers improves the overall system response by improving the transient response as well as by improving the steady state response. So steady state response gets improved by the proportional controller, and the transient response is improved by the contribution of PI controller and PD controller. PI controller will improve the rise time, and PD controller will reduce the overshoot. Okay, so this is the advantage of PID controller. Okay, so that's it. So that is about your controller. Okay, it's a small section in module 3. So we are done with the controllers. Okay, let me see if I can find any problems on controllers. So probably I can solve about 1 or 2 problems. Okay, and once we are done with these controller problems, we can start with a fresh topic in module 3, that is stability analysis. All right. So let's take up stability analysis in the next class. So we are done for the day. Okay, thank you very much.